Hello everyone, my name is Sam.
And I'm Jacob, and welcome back to Geeking Out About It.
Now, this week we are going to be talking Jurassic Park, as you can probably tell from the shirt. But it is a movie that I love, and a lot of the world loves as well.
I would completely agree. And I mean, who doesn't love some good old dinosaurs, right?
Yeah, dinosaurs are kind of like a household thing. Everyone knows what dinosaurs are. They've fascinated people for years.
Right. I mean, I remember watching these movies when I was younger, and, well, the first one, and loving it. And I've loved it ever since I've watched it. I've watched it, a couple dozen times. It's just wonderful. It's timeless, and you can watch it again and again.
It's always great to see Spielberg and John Williams work together because they create such wonderful masterpieces of movies.
Right.
Like Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park are just like, oh man.
Oh, absolutely. And every time that I watch this movie, I notice something that I didn't see before. Like, a dinosaur running around in the background, or certain placement of items that I didn't notice before that was like, oh, that's why they did that.
Yeah.
That's kind of
There's
key.
a lot of really subtle things that I love that slip into these movies, but they're always so great.
They are. So speaking about greatness, I have some history for us.
Oh.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's hop right into the 2-minute history.
Let's do it. Humans have long had a fascination with what has come before us, and dinosaurs must be one of the coolest subjects out there. There's so much research on these prehistoric creatures, and they're an area of fascination for many young kids. I can tell you from personal experience that as a young boy, I loved them, and I would spend hours reading about them. It is no surprise that they're culturally important as well. In fact, dinosaurs are so important that when a book was written in 1990 about humans cloning dinosaurs from the blood in ancient mosquitoes, 4 movie studios wanted the rights to adapt the book into a screenplay. Eventually, Universal won the rights for $500 million, giving us the distinguished Jurassic Park that we know today. The book and screenplay were both written by Michael Crichton. Before the first movie came out in 1993, the production crew had a couple of challenges to overcome. First, the name of the film was not obvious at the time, with many not understanding what Jurassic meant. And Spielberg, the producer, also didn't want to show the dinosaurs on screen before the release of the film. So with these 2 challenges, the design team that had to come up with a way to show the movie what the movie was about without changing the name gave us the iconic logo that can be recognized anywhere by almost anyone. That red and yellow with a black T-Rex silhouette. When the first movie came out in 1993, it broke some records, making over $50 million opening weekend and over $1 billion to date. The visual effects and complexity of the dinosaurs still rival some of today's graphics. Jurassic Park is a widely loved franchise with 5 movies currently and a 6th one on the way for release in June of 2021. The movies alone have made over $5 billion, and the franchise is worth $7.3 billion. As to the historical accuracy of the dinosaurs we see terrorizing the main characters throughout all of the movies, there's never a shortage of cool effects. But in my research, I found that Spielberg did, in fact, try to make some details accurate. There were many scientists consulted in the making of the dinosaurs, with a notable change being made to the velociraptors. Instead of having forked tongues like lizards or snakes, they had normal tongues. This is important because originally Spielberg was going to have the raptors look threatening with their tongue movements. But this change gave us the iconic scene where they breathe on the glass in the kitchen and fog it up while trying to get the kids. The Jurassic Park series is quite incredible and has made an impact on many lives. The number of paleontologists grew after the movies, and dinosaur-loving kids got a chance to see them on the big screen. Plus, the 5 movies have taught us that when it comes to successful movies, just like velociraptors, there's never only one.
Man, there's 5 of these with the 6th one on the way. One of the most interesting details that I think you said in that 2-minute history was that the number of paleontologists went up right after this movie. And I think that it's really interesting that Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park, while Spielberg and Williams combinations, have both made that same impact where like a profession has benefited from a movie like this.
Right, so we in Indiana Jones, we have archaeologists, and with Jurassic Park, we have paleontologists. And I think it is really cool, to think how a movie and a book can do that. They can inspire people to go into these professions and these careers and explore that and dive deeper into that. And I think that's part of why they're so important. It's because it's not just a movie, but it's a cultural masterpiece. It's something that Spielberg poured his life into, and he poured so much energy into this, and he made it perfect. He took multiple shots. They spent hours trying to get one thing right, and I think that pays off. It shows in the first movie that how incredible it is, because it's timeless. It was just as good as it was, 20 years ago.
Yeah, a very important thing that we need to cover before we go into the rest of this episode is we need to really tell you what this movie concept was even based on. So to quickly summarize what Jurassic Park is Jurassic Park is basically if you took Animal Kingdom at Disney World and then you made it really dangerous and you put a bunch of human-eating animals inside of it that really want to break out and cause mass chaos because it's Animal Kingdom on steroids.
The exhibit wants to eat you.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's Animal Kingdom, but the exhibit wants to eat you.
Yeah, and that really is the core premise of the 5 movies. While some of them take diverging passes, as there's another island where they breed the animals in the second movie, which they dive into a little bit more, and then they take them from there and they transport it to here to be on display. But a lot of the core construct is that things will always go wrong because it's not a good thing to make dinosaurs in real life. There's a reason they're extinct. They were chosen by nature, as Dr. Malcolm would say.
Right, and I think that just proves, how powerful these movies are as well, is because it's not just a display of creativity, it's also kind of a social experiment of, let's not do that. Let's not bring back something that was dead and is very destructive and powerful.
I take these movies as like a manual, but
yeah,
in these movies there's a lot of really iconic and lovable characters, and from that we're going to head into a segment that we call The Lineup. Kicking things off with our main protagonist, we have Dr. Alan Grant. Now, he's a paleontologist played by Sam Neill, and he is who we follow most closely out of any of the other characters throughout the first movie and in the third movie.
Right, and I think out of all the characters, he is regarded as truly the professional. Mm-hmm. He seems to be the most knowledgeable on the dinosaurs, and he also has this kind of twisted fascination with them. He doesn't really think of them as real, true, good specimens because they're brought back and they have DNA splicing, as they explain in the movie. But he's also fascinated with them because, well, they're living dinosaurs. Who wouldn't be fascinated with living dinosaurs and being able to see how they interact?
Especially when your profession is inspecting the bones of the dinosaurs and seeing it in a real physical fashion while there's a giant T-Rex standing right there is probably really impressive,
right,
and really scary at the same time.
Right.
Now, another really important character is Dr. Ellie Sattler. Now, she is a botanist played by Laura Dern, and she's probably one of the more important characters in the movie. She has the challenge of taking on the velociraptors more than anyone else. Which is, I wouldn't want to do that. That's probably the scariest thing throughout the movie is the velociraptors.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
The velociraptors are really regarded in all of these movies as the most terrifying. They're aggressive. They're the best predators from these movies, and you don't mess with them.
Yeah,
they're smart.
You really don't.
I think moving on, we have Dr. Ian Malcolm, and he is a really great character. He's played by Jeff Goldblum, and I love him. He's this great character that's completely skeptical of all of it and thinks it's all a bad idea. And, nature will find a way. That's kind of his main, phrase. He says it quite a bit. And he's right. He's proven again and again that, his theory of chaos, that, the dinosaurs will try and breed.
Slight variations,
right? That's all it
anything
takes.
Can cause massive differences. And he's completely right throughout the movie. And he does say that he hates being right so often because there's a lot of problems between him and Dr. Hammond. So John Hammond, the creator of Jurassic Park, him and Malcolm butt heads quite often, especially about thinking that this is even a good idea. But it's really interesting to see this character who's so in love with his creation. He's so into the creative aspect of everything that he's a little arrogant and he just ignores any of the hatred because he thinks this is something that's so cool and I love, and it's his passion project. So obviously it's a really hard thing for him to give that up. And you get to see that kind of interaction between the two. And it's funny that a lot of one of his main quotes is that, we spared no expense, except for they did spare a few expenses.
Yeah, speaking of sparing expenses, we have Dennis Nedry, and he is the computer programmer. He is the person that set up all their security for the park. He knows exactly where everything is, and he's a corporate saboteur. Yeah, there we go, saboteur.
Yeah.
He is working for someone else, and he is in the middle of this project, and he causes the problems. He's trying to steal dino DNA to go sell it to someone else, And in the movie, as this huge storm's rolling in, he shuts down all the power and the security, and a lot of the dinosaurs get out because of him. He's really the main problem here.
Yeah, he is the main problem of these movies because he wants so much money. His main driving force is his greed, and it really is like an interesting aspect. But he does get his comeuppance, and yeah.
Life will find a way.
Life will find a way, as Malcolm would say.
Yes.
But remember how we talked about earlier that kids are a very important aspect of these movies. Growing up and interacting with that, there has to be some kind of role models for kids while watching these movies. So that's where Lex Murphy comes in. She is a female hacker, and she is really important at the end of the movie. Towards the beginning of the movie, she just causes a lot of problems with turning on a flashlight, shining it at a T-Rex, and pulling it to them, which causes a lot of problems.
Really does, but I also can't blame her for not figuring out how to use a flashlight when there's a T-Rex 5 feet away from you that's roaring.
Yeah. Well, what would you do if you were like, the only thing between you and the T-Rex was a sheet of glass?
I would also be pretty scared. And I think that brings us to the other kid, Tim Murphy. He was the young boy played by Joseph Mazzello. And, he's also really great. But that poor kid, I mean, the stuff that happens to him, he's a younger kid, and of course he loves dinosaurs. And he wants to talk to Dr. Grant and get to know him, and Dr. Grant kind of pushes him away at first in the movie. But he's just this zealous character that's totally into it.
This kid goes through a lot.
Things go wrong.
Yeah, he goes through a lot. He gets attacked by the T-Rex and pushed off a cliff into a tree, then has to climb out of the tree as the car falls back down, almost crushing him. And then he interacts with like the velociraptors, gets chased around. He climbs an electric fence and gets shocked off of it and falls like 30 feet. This kid goes through a lot in like a couple of days.
Oh my gosh, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, but a lot of great characters, though. Yeah, they're all really interesting.
Yeah, and that's just the first movie. Of course, there are characters, repeating characters in the other movies, but new characters are brought in, and the kids are different in every movie, which is one of the main points. Is that there's kids in every movie.
There's lovable characters in every movie. There's always someone that you can relate to, and there's such a big range of characters because they did a great job of planning that stuff out. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have for in that segment. So we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we are going to be talking Spielberg.
To generations from around the world.
Ability to play their own game.
That polar front coming straight down.
It's in the air. It's the fluctuations that vibrate our ear holes and make the cochlea sensitive, you can't ignore it, and you try to start measuring it, and it just pulls you in. Well, I used to try to play music on my own, make the sounds from my own hands and instruments. Then I started recording. Upon hearing myself in my recordings, I decided I should just record. When you're a young adult who is serious about pursuing media as a career or even a side hustle, a lot of people won't take you seriously. OMN is cool because not only will they take you seriously, they'll push you and they'll give you all the tools to really try to do something special with it and let you be creative about it. And so that's what's been special about OMN to me. I'm Sam Lay, and I'm a student engineer at Orange Media Network.
Welcome back. Now, there was a lot of care and detail that went into the Jurassic Park movies. There was such dedication from the crew, and Spielberg in particular, to make this movie happen.
I think one of the great examples of that is, with Spielberg. He has such passion and dedication to his movies that, not by their doing, but when they were filming on Kauai, the Hurricane Iki hit. An Iki hit. And, the island was told to hide, to evacuate, to get out of there. But Spielberg, instead of doing that, instead of hiding or playing it safe, went and grabbed a camera, went out onto the jetty, and filmed this storm crashing over the breakwaters and filmed a hurricane coming towards him. And they used that footage in the movie.
Yeah, the fact that they put the footage in the movie is just another level. It's a sequence where the water crashes against the side of this concrete barrier and it splashes up really high. But it's just the subtle detail. It's only in there for like a few seconds, but it's in the movie, and that's just some real dedication. And they really played that into the plot of the story as well, with the hurricane being a main driving force, and really just it happening at the same time is just like, that's some good meshing.
Right, it's just this beautiful compounding effect. And I think it is truly impactful in the movie and the way that it's done. The fact that they incorporated that, and the fact that they overcame many challenges as well, because when that hurricane hit, it destroyed a lot of the infrastructure for the island. And it damaged set equipment, it damaged some of their sets, and they had to figure out how to fix that and reincorporate that into the film. And they did that beautifully.
They did a fantastic job of setting up all the stuff throughout the movie, whether it was their effects or the set design or any of that stuff. It was all really well done with extreme amounts of care. And talking about the effects, the practical effects in these movies was really quite impressive because it mixed CGI and practical effects in varying parts. So there's some iconic moments where the T-Rex is seen stepping out of the paddock and stuff like that, but they actually made the T-Rex. Like, they had to get a life-size T-Rex in order to get some of these really good shots where the T-Rex nudges the car door and interacts with the characters. So they didn't want it to just be a full CGI thing because the technology wasn't really that impressive and great at the time. They were still working out the kinks of CGI. So they wanted to feel real and interact with the viewers in a better way. And so they had this T-Rex doing the work.
Right, and I think the big thing is that it wasn't CGI movement, like you said, it was natural movement. They were actually able to program it to look natural. And your eye catches things that don't look natural.
Yeah, your brain really notices things when they're not quite right.
Right, because there are some CGI moments that aren't perfect. There are some moments that you're like, that isn't quite right. In some of the herd moments where they are having to use CGI because you can't, make 20 animatronic dinosaurs. They're distant, so that helps with it. But there are definitely things that okay, that's CGI. I can tell it's CGI. But when it's the animatronic T-Rex directly in front of you, and it's hitting that Ford Explorer vehicle they made for this movie, it's intense and it looks real. It makes you think that there's a T-Rex there.
A fun fact about the T-Rex is that while they were filming the sequence with the rain and all that effects that were coming in to that shot, they really, the mass and the material that they made the T-Rex out of was really absorbent of water. So it was a difficult thing because the T-Rex kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier the more that they shot the scene. So they had to take it out and dry out all the pieces in order to continue shooting that sequence. And it really paid off for them because all the shots looked so good. But the amount of effort and stuff that went into that effect to just create that was really awesome.
Right, and I think the power of Spielberg letting his crew do what they do best, because that's a lot of how he operates. He tells the crew, "This is what I want. This is what I want you to make happen," and he lets them make that happen, and he helps them get there. And I think that's really great with Spielberg.
Yeah, you just made me think of something that really trusting your team and really getting the actors having to interact with these things and trusting that they get the shot right is a really good moment. Is the Triceratops sequence. When the Triceratops shows up, they have the actors interact with it, and you can see it breathing and all that stuff, and the detail of getting that with the actors pulsing with it and all that stuff. The practical aspect of that was super impressive, and I just love seeing they physically are touching that thing, which means that you're really believing the story of it, and it's great. It's great. I love it.
Right, and talking about believing the story and those actors physically being there, it's the suspense that they use, the tension, the way that they timed the movie, the pacing is fantastic because you have these really intense dramatic moments. Of course, when the T-Rex is breaking out of its cage or when, crazy things are happening, you have these moments that are just incredible. And then there's this calm. There's this rest that lets the adrenaline settle back down. It lets the viewer come back to reality a little bit. And the pacing of how they set up the events and the drama was perfectly timed. Because it wasn't just one big climax. There were multiple smaller climaxes that made you believe that this is something that could happen.
The pacing of these movies really did a great job of getting you involved in the story and interacting with the story in a really clean way. A lot of the times what happens in movies is that you feel kind of cut off at certain moments, but this really lets it play out, and it lets the kind of what I would almost describe as the magic of the world really pull you in.
Right,
And
it's an actual story being told.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just action to action to action. There is the rests in between action, which is what it would be like in real life, or what we would assume it would be.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit more reality to it. There's a rest, and there's multiple events that happen. It's not just one big epic battle. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of really nice details that went into this movie, and it's part of the reason that I love them so much and why everyone loves them so much. Like you talked about how much money they made in the 2-minute history, and it's really a testament to the quality of the movie. And like I said earlier, the music does a fantastic job of helping you along the way and keeping that pacing and the tension and the suspense and all that stuff flowing in the best way possible.
Yeah. And, you know, I think, talking about flowing, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about the movie.
Welcome back. Now, as we said earlier, we were talking about how this movie really is good for kids and adults, and it plays to those themes, and it gets you involved in like the mesh of dinosaurs and people. And
Right.
it does a fantastic job of being a movie that is designed for adults, but it does a fantastic job of letting kids enjoy it too.
Right, and I think that's, you know, why there's kids in every movie, because it's something that younger individuals can relate to and connect with, because, you know, I mean, who doesn't love Tim?
Yeah, you have a character to look up to, and that's
Right.
one of the biggest aspects of the family movie kind of genre, is that there's characters for everyone to relate to, and it's something that I felt was like a really good move on their part, was having these kids be in roles that are kind of like, oh man, I'm so happy that they were able to do that. Like, the kids take on the velociraptors.
Right,
you know?
the kids get important scenes. It's not just, oh, the kids are along for the ride, oh, they're being terrorized. The kids have important, pivotal moments in the movie that affect what's going on.
And this movie did a fantastic job of playing that area, because a lot of time people are like, want it really harshly one way or the other. So there's like, oh, we want this movie to be PG, there's too much scary stuff in this movie, I can't take my kid to this movie, or, oh, I want this movie to be more violent, I want it to be R, and I want it to be all that kind of stuff. But with like things like Indiana Jones that created that genre of that PG-13 rating, you know, it really was a great thing that this movie was able to step in and be in that middle ground, being that adult movie that kids can also enjoy purely based on the topic of it being a dinosaur movie.
Right, and I think you know, playing to that, there are deaths. Of course, there are 5.
There's 5.
There's dinosaurs on an island, and they escaped, and of course, people are getting attacked. But none of the deaths are so gory and violent you'd have to worry about your kid seeing it. All of the deaths are something that you could feel comfortable having your kid watch. But adults still know what's going on and have the enjoyment of, well, I don't know if enjoyment, but you know, if people that like the action and adventure, they have those moments of, oh, that person just died.
Like I said, it really plays well in that middle ground.
Right, and talking about adventure, this movie mixes genres so well, because we have the thrill, we have drama, we have suspense and action, and of course we have science fiction as well, because this is gene splicing. They're taking frogs and splicing it with dinosaur DNA found in ancient mosquitoes, and they're making dinosaur sequence DNA out of it.
Yeah.
And they explain a little bit of that, but they take out a lot of that scientific talk that would make you go, oh, yawn, boring.
The technobabble.
Right, the technobabble. They take that out and they replace it with, here's the basis of what we're doing, just enough for adults to understand it and most kids to understand, oh, here's what they did, but not so much that it's too much.
It's also a fantastic thriller movie because of how many awesome interactions there are with dinosaurs and stuff like that, and different types of things. So there's some really great moments that come from that, of the genre mixing aspect. And it leads to a lot of really iconic moments, I must say. Like,
it really does.
At the beginning of the movie, they introduce like the idea behind having this mosquito be the driving factor, where they collect the DNA from it, and they have these amber mines where they're trying to dig up all of these remains and find that dinosaur DNA. And it leads to some really iconic moments where we have like this digging team find this mosquito, and it shows off that aspect, and it introduces right next scene to Dr. Grant, who is described, oh, he's a digger like me. And so they introduce all these really great moments in a very nice way, and I love them.
I personally, one of my favorite moments is when the T-Rex is escaping its, pen, its caged off area.
Yeah, it's padded.
You see these huge giant fences that are, 10,000 volts of electricity, which get shut off by Dennis. And, the dinosaur or the T-Rex escaping, you know that it's the T-Rex because of how dramatic it is. These huge cables are snapping and popping, and you hear this. While the T-Rex isn't on screen, you know exactly what's happening because of the suspense built beforehand. There's this glass of water in the vehicle that shakes, and you see the ripples go in, and then all of a sudden you see this gate being ripped and these cables bursting, and then so beautifully it moves from that straight to the T-Rex's face, and this massive roar that just sends shivers down your spine. Even just watching it, it's like, oh God, I'm a little bit scared. Like, I don't want to be there.
It's truly iconic. And another iconic moment is when we first see the big reveal of the dinosaurs moving through the field, the whole they do move in herds moment. It's a really iconic moment because it really shows off what they were able to accomplish in this movie. And it's a really touching moment. It's kind of like their second interaction with the dinosaurs. It takes them back because everything that they've worked so long to research and study and all that stuff is just paid off in this moment. And it's a really heartwarming moment. But, more stuff.
Right. And then we have, when the T-Rex wins, right? In one of the final scenes of the movie,
scene.
The grandkids and a couple of scientists are being attacked by velociraptors because velociraptors are huge in this movie. And the T-Rex bursts in through the wall, and there's this huge action. And then, of course, the T-Rex wins. It's bigger and meaner.
It's a T-Rex.
It's a T-Rex. And then
that iconic moment where the banner comes down, though, and it says, when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
Right, and not only is that a great moment for the movie, because it shows the movie's over, but in the books, the dinosaurs learn how to swim and they get off, and it is not good for the humans. So it's not only foreshadowing, but it's also a great end for the movie and sets up multiple movies after that.
And that aspect where we have these characters and stuff, and you talked about how the dinosaurs find their way off the island and stuff like that. They play into that in the Jurassic World series, but especially with Fallen Kingdom, where you see the dinosaurs kind of walking around different parts of the world. And you see the velociraptor standing in the canyons and stuff like that as a little teaser, look at them, now they're going to live in the world. Realistically speaking, though, if dinosaurs were to escape and come to real areas, that they wouldn't get far and they wouldn't be able to cause much trauma, especially the T-Rex. Are you kidding me? That thing's so big that it'd be caught in an instant.
Oh, yeah.
But,
I mean, there are certain aspects of unrealistic expectations and representation, but
it's all for the sake of the spectacle.
Right. And, sadly, that's all we have time for in tonight's episode. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you tune in next week as we talk about another topic. Also, check out more content by KBVR-TV and check out our YouTube page where all the full episodes will be posted. If you want to keep up with the show and the rest of KBVR-TV's awesome production, you should also check out our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages where we post constant updates and tons of extra content. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.